Hey, how you doing? I'm doing all right. Well, let's go over the diet update, shall we? But first, let me take this off. That's better. All right. Weighed myself today. I found out I was 153.8 pounds, which boggles my mind because the other day I was 152.8. And I did everything correct. I didn't overeat. I exercised. I should have went down, but I didn't. It's really annoying. I don't know. Maybe it's water weight, but the strangest thing happened afterwards when I decided to check my weight on a separate scale. I wore the exact same clothes and I didn't even eat or use the restroom or anything before weighing on the other scale. And when I weighed, I found out I was 155.1 on the other scale in the other restroom. So which is it? Am I 153.8 or am I 155.1? That's a big difference. To be fair, the one that says 153.8 does have a dying battery, and the one that is saying 155 just had its battery replaced. So perhaps it has something to do with the battery being old and needing to be replaced. That might be giving an inaccurate reading. So really, I'm 155.1. But I don't know. I've been using the other one, the one that's a 153.8, in every one of my videos. Well, as the gauge for every one of my videos. So not exactly sure what's going on there. It's bugging me. That's all I gotta say. Well, I guess we could just say I'm 153.8. So that's the number reported on the scale. Even though, I like to be as realistic as possible with how much I weigh so I can keep track of how good I'm doing. And I feel like the number 155.1 would get me wanting to try even harder to drop the pounds. So, I don't know. It's confusing. 153.8. Moving on. After weighing, let's go with what was eaten today. Today, in the morning, I had a Atkins lemon bar with a cup of coffee, then another cup of coffee with 2 keto slices and 2 eggs on top, made by my mom. They were very good. And after that, what did I eat later? Well, I ate a smash burger, homemade smash burger. It didn't use fresh patty meat. It was a pre-made smash burger patty that was already squashed in a frozen package. That's what it was. And I heated that as I usually do with a little bit of water and steam and covering the pan. And of course I seasoned it with garlic, salt, and pepper on one side, and then garlic, salt, pepper, and chili powder on the other side. And I put a pepper jack cheese on top. And after that was ready, I had 2 keto-approved toasts. I put some mayonnaise and mustard on those bad boys, and I put the meat patty with the cheese on that and sandwiched the breads in between. And I had my last Quest spicy chip bag with me for that meal, as well as asking my sister if it would be alright if I could get a 7-Up tropical beverage, and she said yes, so I did that. So, that's what I had for lunch. And for dinner, I had a stuffed bell pepper, two stuffed bell peppers actually. They were made by my sister. She got ground beef, mixed it with onions and zucchinis and different types of spices, and it was very flavorful and very good. And she put cheese, a mixture of mozzarella and Mexican cheese, on top. So I greatly enjoyed that. That was an excellent meal. I asked my sister if I could have another one of her sodas, and she said that if I gave her $5, I could have access to as many sodas as I want. Of course, I'm still going. I mean, at most I would drink like 2 a day, but I wouldn't over drink. But I don't know. When I'm eating something greasy and like meaty, like a stuffed bell pepper, I like having a carbonated flavored beverage to go along with it. I don't know, I just like the contrast between the carbonated beverage and the stuffed bell pepper. So yeah, that's why I wanted. And then I asked her if she wanted me to bring her a drink out. She said surprise me, and I got us both Diet Zero Sugar A&W root beers, which were very good. And then I took my and then I drank some tea. This was before the bell peppers were done. That was made by my sister. It was jasmine tea with some equal in it. Big thumbs up on that. Really liked that. And then I took my vitamins. That's pretty much everything I put in my body today. I guess we'll see if I'll weigh more or less tomorrow. Of course, exercise. What did I do for exercise? No dedicated exercises. Once again, I'm sorry to report. Just basic walking and slight jogging around at work and lifting heavy things every now and then. Which, it's something. Something to report is better than nothing to report. And that's what I did. Yeah. I'm very interested to see how much I'll weigh tomorrow. I'm hoping I'll drop, but I guess we'll find out. Time will tell. Alright, now that the diet update is over with, let's move on to the daily update portion of the video. So, what exactly can I discuss in this? Well, I woke up at around 7 because I had my phone alarm set for 7. I knew I needed to be at the car mechanic shop at 8 o'clock in the morning because me and the mechanic did have a talk yesterday about picking up the vehicle and discussing what to do and what further steps we may need to take. And also, the problem isn't so obvious about the vehicle, but there's some theories thrown around that may or may not be the reason for why the car may be giving me a hard time. But yeah, so I woke up early because I needed to be there right when the store opened because I needed to be at work later today at 10 a.m. to 7 p.m. So, of course, I needed to get all that squared away. Now, when I got up, I decided to have a lemon bar and a cup of coffee, and I decided to go into my room, and I was watching a video about deep sea life in, the trenches of the deep ocean. I find that sort of stuff extremely fascinating to me because, in my opinion, it's like the closest that humanity will ever get to seeing what alien life might look like, at least underwater alien life, because the environment and the situation of living in those deep parts of the ocean is so extreme and so heavy that honestly it seems like it really shouldn't be possible anything lives down there, and yet things do live down there. and it just is proof of the resilience of like how Earth life can be so, powerful and never stop and find a way. And there's a really inspiring message about that I really like. But on top of that, it just goes to show that even in extreme conditions where there's barely any sunlight and the pressure of the water would crush any human being within a split second, you somehow have life living and thriving in such harsh conditions. It's so fascinating to me. I do like the deep blue sea and videos that talk about it. It's just relaxing too, seeing these little strange alien creatures floating around. I really like that. Well, after I was done watching that mini documentary, I went out, I greeted my mom. She was finishing up getting ready for work. I asked her if it would be all right if she could drop me off at the automotive mechanic place. She said yes, so she took me, and I was dropped off. The door wasn't open yet, even though it was a little past 8 at the time. But there were people in, and one of the mechanics did see me, and he did open the door up, so cool. And I was greeted by both mechanics that were in the main office, and then I was told by the main mechanic what was going on with the car. He said he believed it had something to do with the ignition key system and the gear shifting system, where like sometimes when you're like moving the gears in this car, like it might get stuck, and the key might get stuck, and it's hard to get it out, so you have to kind of jigger the handle in order for it to come loose. So yeah, that's so that was an explanation he gave, and he showed it to me by taking me out into their workspace, where one of the mechanics came in and showed me what was going on. And it was a pretty interesting demonstration. But overall, I did explain like my main issue that I have with the car currently, and that's that, in my opinion, like when it's late at night, when this has happened to me, like I tried to turn on the car and I, turn the key knob, and like it sounds like it's gonna start, and then it doesn't, and then I try putting in some gas and it sounds like it's about to, but then it doesn't. I just keep on doing that. But then the next morning after, when I turn the key, it starts. And I was told it might have something to do with the fuel pump by one of the main mechanics. I did mention that one of my coworkers said they think it might have something to do with the fuel oscillator, but they seem to like just take that into consideration. But yeah. But afterwards, they said they were going to put the gear system back on top of the car and would bring it out to me so I could take it home, and we could figure something out later where the main mechanic could order a part on eBay, preferably one that can be returned, guaranteed return by the seller. Because this car is from like a while back, and so it's not guaranteed that like every part was going to be continuously manufactured well into the future. Some parts were manufactured for only like a year and then never made ever again, because like a better part was designed and created and continued to be made. So yeah. So I was waiting for the car to be brought out and worked on and brought to me, and as I was waiting, I was just looking around the main office shop, and it was some pretty interesting stuff to look at. One of the more interesting things that I remember was a sticker of Thomas Jefferson that said those who put too much power in their government leave themselves powerless, something like that, or like no ownership for themselves. And I just thought that was a pretty interesting quote because I think like it signifies like how this country was like founded on like, oh yeah, you're meant to make your own way, your own path, and you're not supposed to fall victim to a oppressive regime that's takes your rights away or tells you can't do anything. So yeah, I just thought it was pretty good sticker. I liked it. But anyways, the car was brought out. I was told by one of the mechanics that if the issue where the car just wouldn't start would happen again, to try turning the knob 3 times in succession. I was like, okay. And then I drove my car back home. And when I arrived home, I decided I was in a virtual reality mood. So I busted out my PSVR 2 and I decided to play a bit of a game called Pavlov, which is basically a first-person tactical shooter game. There's an online mode and there's an offline mode. I chose the offline mode because, I don't know, the idea of playing with strangers who can maybe like hear your mic or you can hear their mic just didn't sound too appealing to me. I mostly just dive into that game every now and then because it's probably one of the more interesting and impressive uses of the PSVR 2. Like it does have a nice like visual style and it is a lot of fun to mess around with for sure. Although there was an issue with one of the lenses, and that's that the those dark Polaroid stickers that I put on the lenses to help with getting rid of Miro. Well, one of them stuck to the lens and it left a little stuck sticker. I was able to pull it off and put it back on, but after I did that, like I noticed there was a slight like thing around the periphery of my vision, like not like a fog, but like a weird kind of outline. It's hard to describe. That was probably from like what happened with that adhesive on the on that Polaroid cutout sheet, which really bugged me. But the game itself was clear enough. I could still see the mirror though, which was very disappointing. I messed around with that for a while, till eventually I decided to turn it off, and then begin getting ready for work. And when I was ready, I went off. And I had a 10 to 7 shift today. It was a good shift. When I arrived at the store, I greeted everyone very warmly, and I punched in. And when I checked the schedule, I found I was going to be 1 hour in the front end, the next hour doing a lot, the third hour doing front end, and I'm pretty sure the fourth hour also doing front end. Yeah. So that's pretty much no. It was 2 hours of front end for the first 2 hours. Third hour was lot, and then the fourth hour was front end. There we go. That's what it was. Sadly, I wasn't able to take my first break because it was super busy. I was the only courtesy clerk in the front who was able to bag. Everyone else was either sweeping or being a GM or like hadn't shown yet or were on their break or so. And I felt like I would be leaving like my coworkers to like not be able to take on the crowd, so I was like jumping back and forth between the different, cash registers or the check stands to bag. It was pretty hectic day to day, for sure. And then I needed to switch back to doing lot, or not back to, but on to doing lot, because that was the first time I was on lot that day. But yeah, it's crazy stuff, crazy environment. And I did an hour of lot. It was a nice day, a little bit warm today, I would say. Anything unusual? No, not really. Well, after I was done bringing in the carts, I spent my last hour continuously bagging. Yeah, pretty sure. Wait a minute. Oh yeah, the first hour I believe was spent doing sweeps. The second hour front end, the third hour lot, and then the fourth hour front end again. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, nothing really too engaging to report other than it was super busy. I punched out for lunch at around 2, and I drove home, but here's the thing, I went in the car, and I started to try to start it, and it was giving me the issue again where it made this normal, like, starting sound, but the car wasn't starting. So I tried something, one of the mechanics at the place I was at in the morning told me, and to turn the car 3 times, and after that, let it go, and still kind of giving me a hard time. So I decided to put my car in the on position with the key turned and everything kind of starting. I counted to 15 seconds because I think maybe the car needed to like prime itself first or something. And then after the 15 seconds were up, I tried starting the car again, and voila, it seemed to turn on. So, I mean, that's nice. At least there seems to be some kind of a fix in terms of, like, needing to wait, like, and not immediately starting the car after putting the key in the ignition, which to me is a little strange because I didn't have that issue before where I could just pop the car into the ignition, immediately start and get going. It looks like now I've got to turn it in the ignition, turn it in the on, wait a little bit, and then turn it on a like full blast with the, engine starting and all that. Really interesting quirk there now, but I guess that comes with the age of the vehicle. Well, after I got the car started, I drove home, and I was greeted by my sister. She told me about how her day was going, and that was pretty cool. And then I decided to make my lunch with the smash burger and my chips. And I decided to watch something while I was eating. I was like, what am I going to watch? And then I found out that Valve announced new hardware today. They, started with their Steam Deck, and then they decided to move on to 3 brand new technologies. The first is their Steam controller. The second is a standalone Steam console, which is probably what Microsoft's going to be doing with their new Xbox in the near future. I'm sure they're just going to release like a device that's basically just going to be a PC with an Xbox label stamped on it, where you can like customize it and sideload like other storefronts and things. In a way, kind of already started experiencing that with the Xbox ROG Ally, but it's probably going to happen with their consoles very soon. They'll be PC console hybrids. I was never an Xbox guy to begin with, so it's no big deal to me really. And they've already made their statement clear that they kind of given up because they're releasing their flagship franchise Halo on PlayStation. So, clearly Microsoft is going the ways of Sega. Tis what it is. But Steam seems to be getting ahead on Microsoft by releasing a console PC hybrid that you can put in your living room, which I think is a pretty interesting concept. It definitely means it's less of a closed off platform, and you can like sideload a bunch of stuff like emulators and like, you know, your like mods and things on it. But the real question is, how powerful is this thing gonna be? Is this gonna be as competent as like a base console, like a PS5 or an Xbox Series X, or is this going to be an underwhelming PC? I guess time will tell. So far, I mean, I like the design. It looks like like a GameCube. That's pretty cool. And then the last thing they announced was a thing called the Valve Steam Frame, which is their new virtual reality headset. And to me, I was like, ooh, this kind of looks interesting. I wonder what this is going to be capable of. And then I found a video from Digital Foundry talking about the Steam Frame, so I gave it a look. And I was pretty disappointed because I was hearing rumors that, oh, this is going to have micro OLED displays that'll be like close to 4K per eye, and but in reality, this device is going to be like close to the same resolution as the Meta Quest 3. It's going to run off of a processor that's the same as the Galaxy X. I forget the name of it, but the same processor that's inside like the Samsung Galaxy S24 Ultra phone, which is what I'm using to record this video, by the way. So that is interesting that they're going with such an underpowered thing for what's supposed to be augmented experience. But one of the things that was a huge deal breaker for me, because I was like, oh, maybe this will be the headset that'll sway me over from Samsung to Steam. And I was hoping they would announce the displays would be micro OLED pancake lenses. And then they announce their LCDs. My interest immediately dropped like a rock. Now, apparently, based on what Digital Foundry said, it sounds like they're doing the LCDs because it allows them to get a greater field of view, and it also allows for better motion clarity, because apparently LCDs can do like strobing much quicker than a OLED panel can, which apparently has difficulty doing strobing, which is a technique where like the frames just get shot at your eyes so quickly that like the perception of any kind of motion blur is indistinguishable. Now, MetaQuest, the MetaQuest 3 was able to solve this and apparently do it really well, based on what one of the hosts of Digital Foundry, John Lennerman, said about his experience with it. Of course, that remains to be seen with this device, but am I interested in getting it? I mean, not really. I mean, apparently it has black and white pass-through, and it's not like an XR device where it's trying to mix, real life with the digital world. Instead, it's trying to be a solely entertainment, like video game digital platform. Like, they describe it as a Steam Deck that you can wear on your face. And while that sounds kind of cool, I guess, I don't know. I feel like if I were to get like an immersive headset experience, I would much rather prefer it if it had the ability to do more, like watch movies or 360-degree videos, or travel the world. And the Galaxy XR hits all those boxes for me. On top of having full color pass-through, it also has just hand tracking, which it's not confirmed if the Steam Frame has hand tracking. But yeah, I don't know. Maybe if I tried it in person, it would change my mind completely. I would say, this is the greatest thing ever. But based on what I'm hearing about it, I'm like, I'd rather just get the perfect contrast that the micro OLED displays would provide from the Galaxy XR versus the terrible contrast that LCD panels would most likely provide with the Steam frame. I mean, it's a shame because, Valve makes excellent products from what I've heard, and they also have excellent community, service, or what do you call that? They're great at community support, I guess. So, I mean, it wouldn't be a bad company to support financially for someone who'd be interested in the field of VR and gaming. But again, like, if you want any actually compelling VR experiences on the device, you would need to connect it to a powerful computer. And I don't really have a computer powerful enough to do that, so that's out of the question. I mean, it's a real shame, because I was hoping this would be like a slightly less expensive micro OLED alternative to the Galaxy XR, but it turns out that it was like mostly just a VR gaming set focused device that can play flat panel games in a like immersive like theater mode, and I'm like, okay, but I don't know. I'd rather like something that has more utility than what. I'm sure there will be people who will mod it and find ways of getting utility out of it, but personally, it doesn't sound like something that interests me, especially with the use of LCD instead of micro OLED. What were they thinking? And black and white monochromatic pass through in the year 2026? What in the world are? I mean, the Meta Quest 3 has full color pass through. Why couldn't they have done that with the Steam Deck? I mean, I guess they want this to be just a fully VR focused experience with zero XR capabilities whatsoever. That has to be the only explanation, I suppose. I don't know. I just think it's a shame that they're not making it as versatile as it really could have been. But oh well. I guess they wanted to make it a focused device. From what I hear, though, it does sound like it's quite light. Like it's only 440 grams, which I think is lighter than the Galaxy XR and the Apple Vision Pro and the PSVR 2. So, I mean, in terms of comfort, that sounds really nice. It's just, I don't know. It just sounds a little too behind in terms of certain aspects of its technology. Just my honest opinion. I'm sure software support will be great, but I'm not too crazy about it. Well, anyways, I've gone on long enough about the whole announcement. After I was done eating my meal, I left for work again. And when I arrived, I was given 2 hours of front-end bag work, 1 hour of lot for the third hour, and then the fourth hour, front-end bagging work again. There was various things that I did, from doing some go-backs to helping some older people out to their vehicles, to bringing orders out into the front of the store to people who ordered online. So it was a slightly varied day, I would say. Lots of nice people, lots of very good people. Some of the more interesting people I met near the end of the day, there was a lady who was a surgeon who had worked with living, bodies before, which I thought was quite interesting. I was like, wow. And I was like super curious about like asking her, what have you seen? What's it like having, people's lives in your hand? It was like a little stressful, but I just focus on the work and do my best, and hope it all works out. And it's like, do you guys use robots to help you? She's like, as a matter of fact, we do. We use this machine called Da Vinci, which is remote operated by surgeons, where it allows you to have much smaller, little precise control when dealing with operations to get into a patient, to ensure that they get healed as quickly as possible. So I just thought all of that was so neat. It was one of the more interesting customer interactions I had. I really enjoyed that. Um, Another one that I wasn't expecting was uh, there was a lady who was buying eggs, and she bought two Eggland eggs, and the cashier said, there's a buy two get one free deal, right? You can get the free eggs. He was like, nah, I'm not interested. And then I said, I could run over and grab it for you. And she's like, nah. And then the cashier jokingly said, he could have it. And then she said, you know what? Yeah, go ahead. You can have it. And I'm like, really? I get to have the eggs? And she's like, yeah. Just be sure to have the receipt as proof of purchase that I got it for you. I'm like, oh, well, thank you. So yeah, I said, thank you so much. I shook her hand and I was very grateful. Yeah, it's those random acts of kindness that really make you realize there's still some, hope and fun and joy in the world, It really brightens one's day, especially mine. So thank you very much. Really appreciate that. But yeah, and then there was like a family I was helping out, and yeah, it was pretty cool. Bagging for them, and I was like saying, parents are like the king and queen of their own little village, with their children being the villagers. And the mom said, I like that. That actually is a pretty good parallel or explanation. It was like, oh, thank you. Yeah, so that was pretty cool. And yeah, that was pretty much some of the more interesting interactions I had today. I always enjoy interacting with the customers. You never know who you're gonna get. You always get some fun experiences. Sometimes it's just another day in the office, and you don't really get anything that interesting. But when you do get something super interesting, it is worth sharing, and I really enjoy it. And yeah, that's pretty much it in terms of work. I punched out. I said goodbye to everyone. And I decided to continue listening to the Digital Foundry overview of the Steam frame as I was driving home. Of course, I made sure to grab my eggs, and I even showed the manager, and he just gave me the go ahead, okay. So that was cool. And yeah, I drove home, and when I got home, my mom got home too at the same time. We were both on our phones watching our own stuff, and I decided to go out and tell her about the whole egg thing, and she was like, oh, that was nice of her. And then we went into the house where my sister was preparing stuffed bell peppers, and we were both really grateful for that, because we were like, oh, we're so tired. I don't think we'll be able to make food. She was like, I got you guys. So yeah, we were really happy about that, because we were exhausted from our full day of work. And then my mom said, yeah, I felt like I was run over by a cabin or something. And then I said, ooh, that'd be kind of a silly idea for a Sora video. What if we generate a video where you say, I just got from work and I feel like I've just been smashed into a pancake, and then you turn around and you look flat. She said, yeah, that's a funny idea. Let's do that. So we did that, and the result was it was like nightmare fuel. It was like, she turned into like I don't even know how to describe it. Just like a weird, like, flattened, cubish looking, like, entity of some kind. It was really bizarre, but kind of funny at the same time. We snuggled our cats. We really enjoyed them. They were fantastic creatures. And then we decided to watch a video on YouTube. Two different videos. One was about the 1928 Noah's Ark movie, and the general review of it, as well as the opinions of people who saw it at the time, as well as the opinion of the person who made it, or the video, not the actual movie. And trivia that went into it, with the most interesting thing being that apparently, like, the flood sequence at the end of the Noah's Ark movie was so intense that perhaps someone may have died or got seriously injured from the whole event. In fact, there was a moment where the director of that film wanted to get the stunt double to fall in a certain way on the set, and he decided that he wasn't doing it properly, so the stunt double wasn't in the director's opinion. So the director decided to show him how it's done and do it for him. And then he fell and he ended up breaking his leg. So yeah, this director seemed a bit on the unhinged side, honestly. But yeah, he didn't even give the actors any warnings about, like, the fact that, oh, we're gonna release a flood right now, so he could get as natural of a reaction out of the actors as he could. The 20s was a different time for sure. Well, after we were done watching that, we decided to watch a video of a British woman who was talking about where the Ring Around the Rosies nursery rhyme came from and how it was always associated with the Black Plague. But ultimately, there really was never any obvious connection between Ring Around the Rosies and the Black Plague, and it was just a superficial connection made in like an old early 1960s book about like how maybe the Ring Around the Rosies is possibly connected to the Black Plague. Like, it was basically the like internet like horror story rumors before internet horror story rumors became a thing. But like in this case, it was like a innocent nursery rhyme that was actually about like courtship instead of you know the Black Death. So that was a pretty interesting video. And then we ate the bell peppers and we had a nice family discussion. But man, when we were done with those, and of course I got the soda, I paid my sister the $5, I gave her one. And after we're done eating that and had our discussion, I was so tired. Like, it felt like the tiredness hit me like a truck. And I felt flat as a pancake. So I was like, oh my gosh, I'm so sleepy. I'm just going to get ready for bed. Peace, guys. So they understood. So I took my vitamins. I brushed my teeth. And then I folded my clothes and put it away while listening to Digital Foundry talk about the new Steam machine that was recently announced, which sounds like a really underwhelming device. Like, it just doesn't sound like that exciting at all. Like, it sounds like you're better off getting a game console instead. But I guess the whole point of that device is to make it like a seamless blend between your PC and your home console experience. I mean, Valve's basically getting ahead of what Microsoft's trying to do, essentially, which is interesting to see. But anyways, yeah, I was listening to that while I was folding and putting away my clothes. I brushed my teeth. Did I already say that? Maybe I did, maybe. I don't know. And yeah, then I decided to record this video, and that's pretty much my day. As you can see, it was a day that was filled with a lot of watching of various subjects that I found interesting. It was a day that had a lot of interesting customer interactions that I found fascinating. And it was also a day that was filled with a lot of different food that was very unique to the palate. So I'll say that I overall enjoyed this day. Were there times where I felt maybe a tinge of stress or exhaustion or like, tiredness? Yes, of course. But I feel like it was well warranted after just constantly working or like, bouncing between check stands or things like that. But overall, I'm really glad that this day turned out the way it did, and I will be looking forward to tomorrow. Now, to end this video off, I will go over the top 3 things that I am most grateful for from today. I'll go with the first one being that I got my car back. That's a big deal because being relying on others to drive me places was, something that, before I had my car, like that was all I had, so that was all I knew. But when I got my car, having that sense of independence of going anywhere, anytime, and not having to worry was very freeing and very fun and exciting. So when my car was in the shop and I needed a ride like to work, it definitely felt like I was kind of a bit of a burden, like, oh, I need to be taken here. I mean, I don't think my mom or my sister thought I was a burden, but, like you get that sense when you feel like, oh, you're capable of doing this, but you can't because you don't have the necessary means to. So I guess maybe not a burden, just a major inconvenience. So, yeah, that's why I'm grateful for having the car. It's nice to regain a sense of independence and freedom. The second thing that I am grateful for today is I was able to fold and put away all my clothes. I gotta be honest, previously when I washed all my clothes, I kind of just bunched it up in a corner out of view of the camera and just like took my clothes out as I went along. Of course, now I realize how messy and unclean that looks, to where I was like, oh man, I need to fold my clothes and put it away and stop being such a lazy individual. So I did that, and it does feel good to get productive, clean things done, and it's very rewarding, and I like that feeling, and I need to chase that feeling a lot more. Getting hard things done makes you feel like a winner and like you're moving forward. And the last thing that I'm grateful for today, it's just Oh, I was grateful for the dinner tonight made by my sister. That because me and my mom, we got home from work, we were so exhausted, tired, and we were just knocked out. And honestly, I was so tired that I wasn't even planning on making anything. I was just gonna go to bed without any supper, punishment style. But my sister, like, having surprise dinner being made for us was something that was very pleasant and very nice. Oh, yeah. And one bonus thing that I'm super grateful for was the free eggs given to me by one of the customers. That was just a really nice gesture, and I really liked that. Well, that's about gonna have to do it for this video today. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I will see you in the next video. Bye-bye.